YouTube, which I believe we are. And I'll need to mute that so it doesn't throw anybody as they try to speak. Nearly there, everybody on YouTube. It's lovely this evening that we have put the clocks forward, so it's a little bit lighter in the evenings, which I believe we are. You'll be able to enjoy springtime in Lisbon later into the evening, as I think Daniel will have done this evening, and the ladies from EI. Let's talk to them first. Carolina Cunha, good evening to you. How are you? How has your day in Lisbon been?
Hi, hello, Carl. Everything smoothly today. Immigration world, I believe, is uh, still recovering from the transition and still getting on their feet. So we go with the flow and try and manage the best we can.
Really, and but no big news from IMA. Okay,
Not really.
okay, all right.
And
Well,
eventful is also good news. So
yes, I think you're right. I think it's good. Let's not tempt fate by pushing too hard with this. Let's do like slow and
yeah.
steady. We were talking about slow and steady wins the race when you're learning Portuguese. Perhaps it's the same in the visa world as well. Any questions anybody has about visas? Caroline here, and colleague Sara Santos also here. Good evening to you, Sara. How are you?
Good evening. I'm fine, thank you.
Excellent to see you. We don't see you too often on the call. Great to have you here tonight. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself and what it is you do with EI and which office you're in?
Yes, of course. For the people that don't know me yet, I'm Sara Santos. I'm a migration consultant at A. I'm in the individual visa team working with D7 and D8 visas, and I'm also in the tax team doing NIFs and the bank account.
Wow, that's going to get some questions, I'm sure. People will have heard tax and NIF there. I suspect there may be one or two questions for you this evening. So thank you for being here. Much appreciated. Daniel, not far from you, I suspect. Are you in Lisbon this evening, Daniel? And how are you?
Well, I'm quite all right. I'm usually I do the webinar or not the webinar, the Dream Team via the office. Today I'm at home because I did decide to leave a little bit early for my usual time to leave the office to enjoy the sun, as you well said it. So the time difference does make a difference in Lisbon, and you have more hours to enjoy. Although I'm still adapting to this new time to wake up. So yeah, I don't like the week where the clock changes. I get some time to adapt, but well,
Yes.
it is what it is.
And what do you think? Are the tornadoes behind us now? Can we look forward to a nice spring and just a little bit of April rain?
No, it seems that the weather is going to be quite hot tomorrow, and we're going to have more dust coming from Sahara. So it's probably going to be another dune landscape tomorrow. So I don't think that the crazy weather is gone yet.
Crazy times, but we will be sending them some sardine smoke soon, and we'll get our own. Oh yes, that's coming. All right, thanks, Daniel. Good to see you tonight, and Daniel, of course, here answering questions about the law here in Portugal. Let's go to Nuno Mensch from Winsurance. How are you, Nuno?
Hello, good evening, everyone. So, taking the lead following the lead of Daniel, just to know that the sands of Sahara is not covered washing the car. So this is not part of the car auto insurance. Okay.
Good to know. Thank you.
So about the insurance world, everything it's very steady. No big changes. But at the backstage, people or institutions and some are insurers start feeling about how they can work together with the public system and add value to the population and provide services that the public system is not provided at this moment. Also, with the age of the population, additional needs are feeling more and more. So I believe that probably not during this year, but during the next one, we could start seeing something on the insurance world directly to the people above 66 years old. I believe.
Sorry, I'm not with you exactly. So, in terms of extra raising premiums or extra services?
No. Extra services.
Oh,
Extra
okay.
services.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And specifically, any clues as to what those things might be?
Probably about it's we
Carl's
call.
asking
I don't think
questions.
he asked the question.
No, he is.
Hold on a
Carl's
minute,
asking
Laurie.
questions.
Let's get you muted up, Laurie. And I'm very interested in your question. But let's go back to Nudu for just a moment.
Okay. So mostly it's about assistance to elderly people.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah.
Assistance at home, how to provide some accompaniment. At the interior areas, Portugal are providing some of these accompaniment service using the
Okay.
GNR, for example.
Seriously?
So yes, it's true. So I
Wow.
believe that the big changes will occur on the next following years.
This
in
is
this area.
interesting because it's very far-sighted then by the government. Of course, Portugal is known for its aging population, and you know this is a demographic shift or change that we need to pay attention to in the coming years. And it sounds as though the GNR are involved in assisting some of the elders in the interior of Portugal, possibly.
Not providing properly an assistance, but just to pass through some more remote villages or houses, knowing how are the people, if everything is okay, if
Very good.
strange people are surround the property or not. So
Yes.
basically this, yeah.
Wonderful. Okay. Thank you very much, Nuno, for being here. And you are backed up by Camilla as well. Good to see you here this evening, Camilla, too. So it's very quiet so far in the chat. I'm sure there are questions to come about moving to Portugal. And as Sarah said, you've got tax that you can ask her about and setting up a bank account and the contribuent, the NIF number as well. So do get those questions into the chat here and we'll prioritize them over here on Zoom. And we're looking at questions coming in from YouTube as well. Good evening to you, Jackie, over there, as well as Ron Jarvis, who's in North Carolina, and Sky of the Shires from Cy and Fiona over there as well. Good night to you. And the session we just did with Philomena was great. That was language and culture, and that video will be released this coming Sunday, 1800 hours on the Expats Portugal YouTube channel. Right, we're into April now, folks. 25 de Abril, the 25th of April, and the Revolution celebrations, of course. Now we've put the election behind us, Daniel. Is the country's attention turning towards the Carnation Revolution celebration? Is it obvious in Lisbon yet?
Well, I don't think so. At least in the street where we work, there's no active celebration party stuff hanging on the walls or something like that. It's all going to take down in Avenida da Liberdade, so in the major avenue in Lisbon, and usually it's prepared on the same day or the day before. So they may close the street on the day before, but there's actually a commission that is preparing the Carnation Revolution for two years now, and they have quite an interesting program for people that want to explore what was the history of the revolution and how it started and what were their effects into the transition to fully fledged democracy. So it's going to be an interesting time for people that are settled in Portugal and want to understand the dictatorship that we had before and the transition to a democracy and the turmoil that we had in 74 and 75. Because opposing to other countries, our revolution is considered a velvet revolution. Only 4 people were killed, unfortunately, and this was by the secret police at the time. They fired upon street protesters that were just in the street, and apart from that, no other people got killed in the revolution. So it was quite a peaceful transition to a democracy, and something that the majority of Portuguese people, as long as they're Democrats, I would say they're quite proud of.
Excellent, thank you. So we're still waiting though for the big celebration announcements, I guess.
Yes,
Maybe that'll be a few weeks.
it's usually an interesting day to just go out and about and just explore the city, because it's a good day to walk. If you like walking down the streets, and a day without cars, usually the Carnation Revolution, it's a good day. And probably as this is going to be the 50th anniversary of the revolution, it's going to be a good day to explore the city and to learn about a bit about the Portuguese history.
Very good. Okay, we will return to that as our attention warms up around that special day for Portugal. Tom Smith is in, as is Pedder. Good evening to you, Pedder. Thanks for being here, as well as on the previous webinar. Boa noite a todos. He's practicing his Portuguese that he's just learned. Very good. And Tom Smith, greetings from Ohio, where it is a cloudy 5 degrees. I don't know why everyone stresses about filing taxes, says Tom. I did mine over a year ago. Very good. And Derek, hi to all from Derek and Linda from what was a beautiful day in Lagos. Hi also to Nuno there. A special message for you from Derek and Linda. Nuno, 4 hours. Sorry, no, 4 days, 3 hours, 39 minutes until I leave for Portugal. But who's counting? Tom Smith. See you soon. And Richard Rogers, good question. I don't think we've covered this before. I've just discovered I need to do green receipts. Recibos verdes. Literally the green receipts as they used to be before they went electronic. As a contractor in Portugal, is there any assistance available to help me set that up? That is a great question. Daniel, you help people set up companies, of course.
Yep.
Does that stretch to helping people set up on the portal and issuing green receipts as well?
It's if Richard wants to touch base, feel free to send us an email. But basically, the steps to do are doing what's called opening the activity up. So a communication needs to be sent to the Portuguese tax authorities, stating what line of business or activity is going to be developed, and there's a code of activity that needs to be picked. For instance, mine as a lawyer is the lawyer code, and you can be a consultant. There's a lot of codes that will have an impact, and depending if Richard does have NHR, the code is relevant for the NHR tax benefits. And after that, the green receipts will need to be issued. We sometimes provide a bit of tuition to our clients and how to issue the green receipts, because it's not intuitive at all. That web portal, even for me as a lawyer, once you just try to issue a green receipt, it appears a lot of articles from the law. And unless you go and study each single article, it may be a bit confusing to issue the first green receipt. But once you know how to issue the first one, all other will be the same. So it's just a learning curve. And once that is settled and done, it's a breeze. So if needed, contact us and we'll be more than happy to assist.
That's wonderful. And you can find Daniel and Rezen Pelicano in the Expats Portugal Business Directory, Richard. It's a good question. And while you're talking with Daniel and team, I'm sure you can find out if it's worth going the extra mile, as it were, and setting up a company, because there may be advantages, of course, Daniel, in comparing what the advantages or disadvantages are with green receipts compared with an LDA. And you can take care of all of that, I take it.
Correct. It depends largely on the amount to be invoiced per year. Because if you stay under the 13.5K per year, I would say green receipts is more than enough, because you will not need to worry about Social Security. You don't need to have an accountant. So things are simpler if your invoicing is below 13.5K. Above a certain threshold, it may compensate to have a company set up, because some expenses may be deducted from the company. For instance, renting a car or travel expenses connected with the economic activity that is taken. So depending on the specific situation, incorporating a company may be beneficial. If the clients want to keep things simple, it's the green receipts, but each case is a case, and it needs to be assessed depending on the income to be generated, and eventually expenses that will need to be deducted from the income. So it's a very interesting question, either green receipts or a company, and we do that assessment usually with clients depending on their wishes and needs.
Very good. And historically, it was literally a green receipt book, wasn't it? And a
It
triplicate,
was.
one for you, one for
Yes,
your
it was.
customer, and one for the government.
Correct, correct. I still remember those, although I have never used them on a personal level, but my parents had them. And it was funny to see that big booklet and people issuing the receipts in hand, but those days are long gone. Nowadays, fortunately, it's all electronic, which quite helps for the delivery of taxes. So that's it was a big improvement at the time, and it's still something that I do like to have everything issued online. It's once you know how to do it, it's a breeze.
There you go, Richard. And I bet loads of kids drew on their mum and dad's green receipts books
Indeed, I
to
did.
make it work with the
Yes.
cardboard copies.
Guilty.
Brilliant. Okay, good
Carl,
evening.
let me just add on something.
Please do, Carolina. Thank
On
you.
Richard's case, I believe he's the Richard that I think he is. So if so, he's a digital nomad. So he has specific circumstances, and that will depend on when he goes to IMA, if they are already requesting that or not.
Yep.
Because if they aren't, he does not need to do it. But if they are, yes. But that depends on which IMA, which if they are the one that he's going, if they all also demand social security enrollment. So that is a good thing that to check with the lawyer going with him to the IMA appointment, because it might not be necessary. So because they don't demand in all of the IMAs. So yeah.
Yeah, because you don't, as I think Daniel uses this phrase sometimes, you don't want to open up a world of pain unnecessarily.
Yeah, and we also help with that. So
Yes.
Richard can reach out to us. He already has our contacts, and we can check his situation as well, specifically because of his future appointment.
Very good. Because it is a bit of a grey area, isn't it, with the digital nomad, with the D8 visa. Just because you're a contractor in Portugal doesn't necessarily mean you're going to have to issue green receipts here, does it? You may have a different arrangement depending on your contract and who you're working for and working with. So check that out with all of these wonderful people here, Richard. Lots of offers to you there. Charles, thank you, Carolina. Charles says, good evening, all. I'm a South African living in Manchester. With my partner. We want to explore Portugal in May, June, but I am being defeated by VFS as I simply cannot even get an appointment. She has a British passport, so no problem but me. Any advice on that particular setup then? So a South African living in Manchester with a partner with a British passport, not having any joy getting an appointment with the VFS. What can they do about that, Carolina?
Well, in that case, I believe they are trying to get both an appointment at the same time in the same place, correct? Even though he's South African,
I would think so.
Probably as a residence permit there as well. Usually in the UK, they don't release slots with much anticipation. So they usually do it like in 2 weeks prior or at most a month prior. So my suggestion is to have everything ready so that when you grab an appointment, even if you in like a extreme level grab one appointment and both of you go and really beg to be attended, both of you, in like worst case scenario. But I would say that it does not take much longer. Usually my latest appointments have been in London, not in Manchester. So that one I have no like very recent perfect understanding, but usually this is what the VFS UK does.
Okay, so that might be a strategy to use London instead. Is that right?
No, they can't. So they have jurisdiction.
Okay.
So if they said Manchester, I assume they check the jurisdiction and that they belong to apply there. But if that's something that I can confirm if they tell me the where they live, I can check the jurisdiction if it's really Manchester. If not, yeah, London's a little bit better.
Oh, okay. Then let us
Um,
know if we've understood your situation. Charles is saying partner Glyn does not need VFS. Thanks, Carolina, for advice. My info all ready to go out to go, but pulling out my hair. I do need to apply in Manchester pretty much 100%. So thanks for clarifying that, Charles. It might be that a chat with Carolina and
yeah.
team might help.
Why does she not need a VFS? Is she an European Union citizen?
Perhaps as well as a British passport holder. Charles will let us know. In the meantime, I think Nunu wanted to add something to the conversation.
UK, yeah, but UK, he replied UK, but a British citizen needs a visa.
Needs a VFS, right? Yeah.
Yeah, because of Brexit, they no longer are European Union citizens. So
Okay.
it's just like if they are any other third country. So yeah, a whole visa process is needed. So a British citizen or a South African citizen need the exact same process.
Charles, it sounds like a conversation with EI would be useful. Because you're saying there, I understood she does not need one, but British citizens do now post Brexit need a visa. Not before, but now they do now. Since the rubber stamp on the Brexit process. Thanks, Carolina. Thanks, Charles. Nunu, you had your hand up. Did you want to add something to this bit of the conversation?
Not to this conversation, but to the previous one, because Daniel is assistant or provides assistance regarding fiscal stuff, right? Daniel?
Business formation.
Yes.
Yep.
So just a question, because it could be on the interest of the ones that are thinking on do a company, which is in Portugal, we have different benefits, fiscal benefits, if the company has its headquarters at the interior areas. So maybe you can check this with Daniel also.
Okay, where your what your parent organization is, or the head office, the HQ. Also, yeah, I mean, I got an Uber the other day, and the Uber driver, it was his second job, but a typically industrious Portuguese man, and he was telling me about having a company. Was how the Tesla that we were in was financed and purchased. So there are benefits definitely to starting a company, and that is a big one at the moment, isn't it? Having an electric vehicle via the company seems to be a pretty good perk currently, the way things stand. Anyway, let's stay with you, Nunu. We've got a question from Laurie for you. Please explain why cars are insured but not drivers, as it is in the US, and how does it work if you get an accident where there are injuries involved? Great question there for Nunu from Laurie. Why is it? Why did Portugal decide to insure the vehicle and not the driver, Nunu? We've never asked that, have we?
It's the legal scope. So in Europe, it works differently. At least in Spain, I know that it works the same way, which is we insure the car's plate number and not the driver's. And this is why anyone with a valid driver's license can drive your car.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
And the insurance policy is fully active.
Yes.
The base coverage of all of the auto insurance policies is liability, and liability provides the assistance or the costs covered due to an accident. Okay?
Right. Okay, and let's go. Forgive me, Carolina Muralha. I didn't say good evening to you. We'll come back to you in just a moment from Casa Portuguesa, of course. But while we're with you, Nuno, the process of being involved in an accident and if unfortunate circumstances where there are injuries involved as well, walk us through that process, if you will. So, if you have a collision in Portugal, you're meant to leave the vehicles where they are, and the police are called, and a report must be made for insurance purposes. That's the first part, isn't it?
Yes. So in the case of a minor collision, please feel free to call us directly, because we can help you once you are ongoing handling with everything. Okay.
Yeah.
Because there are some details that in the end will make all the difference if you are guilty or not for the accident. So basically this. There is something that even Portuguese people don't attend much attention, but it's key on the definition of the responsibility of the accident and is the drawing. So please be very careful when you are drawing the accident, because
Oh,
you need to drawing at the declaração amigável.
okay. And that's the paperwork that often you'll find with your insurance policy. It comes as a little booklet, and there's a
Yes.
space for drawing like a schematic diagram of what actually went on with the accident, right?
Yes, because insurers, they don't have rules to define who is or who was guilty, who did the accident. Okay, this is we have the law that set how we need to drive and who is supposedly the third party or the guilty for the accident. Okay. So it's not something that an insurer decides by itself. They follow the general rule that is common to all the insurers.
Okay. All right. And if there's an injury, what extra documentation or procedures should people go through?
Okay, so call the 112.
Yeah.
The emergency number is the equivalent to the 911 in US.
Yeah.
Call the 112, and the ambulance will drove the injuries to the hospital, and we start from there. Okay.
All right.
Just also a detail, which is when you left the car, dress your yellow vest or
Yeah.
green vest. Otherwise, if the police attend there, the GNR or the PSP, they could fine you.
They'll give you a fine for that, as well as having the accident. Okay. And what happens if this occurs in Spain? Laurie is also asking if you're traveling from Portugal into Spain.
Okay, so the procedures are pretty much the same, but it's more complicated because in Portugal, we have an agreement among all the insurers that no matter who is the guilty for the accident, each of the insurer will solve the claim directly.
All right.
with the customer, okay, with the policyholder. In Spain is different because we need to write to the representative in Portugal of that insurer, that foreigner insurer, and handling the process with them.
Okay.
So it's not complicated, but it's not so straightforward if we are talking of an accident between Portuguese insurers only.
All right. Thanks for the question, Laurie, and thanks for your answers there, Nuno. We'll go back to Gail's question. And actually, before we do, there may be another angle on this, Carolina Cunha, when it comes to Charles visiting Portugal. Is it to move here with a visa, or are you just on a tourist visa, as Peda has asked in the chat? That's a very important point. If people are coming here from the UK, they don't need a tourist visa, and they can be here for 3 months on a tourist entry. Is that the same for South Africans as well, Carolina? Would they have the same access 3 months on a tourist visa?
For South Africans, I don't know from the top of my head, but I think they need a visa, a tourism.
So there you go. That might be.
But I need to check that.
Okay, well, you've got Carolina's email.
They do. South Africans do need Schengen visas.
Okay, there you go. That probably explains it then. This is just for tourism and not for moving to the country. So Glyn will not need, will have the tourist visa, but not anything more serious than that. And as a UK citizen is able to come here on that tourist visa without applying first. So there you go. I think that explains that. We'll go to Gail's question as well. I am planning to submit my D7 application in early July. When should I have you start looking for a T1 apartment in Setúbal for me with that? So timing, D7 application early July. When should the Casa Portuguesa search start? Maybe we should go straight to Carolina Moralia for that. Good evening to you, Carolina.
Good evening, everyone. If he wants to move in July, I believe it's best to start in the middle of May, ends of May, just so we can understand the type of apartment that he likes, the characteristics. It also depends on the budget. So to have a margin, let's say end of May.
There you go, Gail. Thank you for that, for the T1 in Setúbal. I think you're visualizing that already. What's new at Casa Portuguesa, Carolina? Good to see you here this evening.
Good evening. What's new? Well, I don't have any news. Everything stays the same.
Okay.
But the areas that the client mentions, Tubal, are getting pretty chosen,
Yeah.
which is good.
Yeah.
The other margin is getting attention, which is always nice.
Okay. Any new areas? I'm always keen to ask you of any other new areas, towns or cities that have come up on your radar that people are looking at.
Maybe maybe Lady.
Yeah. I think maybe you mentioned Santarém before as well. These are very
Yes, Santarém.
So if you're getting a bit desperate with your search, maybe extend to Leiria. Great city, as is Santarém. Very handy for getting to Lisbon from there as well. Thanks,
Leiria
Carolina, for being
district.
here. Sorry, say that again.
Sorry, Leiria district. So a bigger area to explore. If you want to be out of the cities, the main cities, it's a great option to explore as well.
It's my district, actually. Yeah, San Martino is in Leiria. Okay, thank you for that. Laronda is just curious, if a UK citizen was an EU citizen prior to Brexit, did they lose that after the exit from the EU, or they grandfathered in? Basically, post-Brexit Brits, sorry, pre-Brexit Brits are okay. They've had most of their rights reserved, haven't they, Carolina Cunha?
Yes, so they when Brexit happened, they did with the European Union, and not just Portugal, but all the other countries, a transitory regime for the British that were already here or were with ongoing processes. The new, and I believe the ones in the early beginning as well. The ones that were just thinking about it, yet those ones weren't covered. So yeah, it was like a couple years of transition.
Yes.
So a lot of people were within that project. If I can say that word, you were
Yes.
one of them.
Thank you, Portugal, and the EU for that. So the answer is yes to your question. Thank you, Carolina, for picking that up. We go back to Nunu now. In the case of a car being insured, is the driving record taken into consideration? Do you need to list the spouse on the insurance like the US? Presumably not, Nunu.
No, no. You are correct, Carl. Only one person is mentioned on the insurance policy, and usually is the policyholder.
Yep.
Okay. Nevertheless, when we have claims, when you do claims, the record of the claim is on our driver's license also.
Is it?
No,
Right.
sorry, it's on the car. It's on the car records. Nevertheless, our driver's license is important on the up to 25 years old.
Okay.
Above 25 years old is the same, but there are a few insurers that start improve the insurance premiums for people above 60, 65 years old. Okay, it's only a few, but we have also these in Portugal. So it's not related with the claims that this person did,
Yes.
is related with the age. So claims are linked with the car plate number, and the age. It's a standalone factor of the cost.
All right. And your previous driving record, when you take your first insurance, your driving history, is that factored in?
So we can we have some agreements with insurers that considers the record that you have in your country, but only for the duration of 4 months,
Oh.
which is a low period, because usually you arrive, you're not thinking on buying a car, you have a lot to handle with, and then when you think to buy a car, it's after 4 months, 6 months, 1 year, and your record, it's no longer valid at the insurance.
All right. Thanks for that, Nuno. And thank you for your question, Novokolski there. Thank you very much, Denise, adding South Africans do need a tourism visa. So there you go. And Laronda, thanks, Carl. And thank you for your response, Carolina, on that. Let's go over to YouTube then for a moment. Plenty of questions over there. Thank you very much, Ron Jarvis. I think we covered that on April 25th, and I think more celebrations will be revealed in the coming weeks. Very interesting question from Jackie. I don't know who to put this to, really. I have a strange question. Are there any laws around having chickens in the home garden? I hope not, because I've had chickens in the garden. Should we go to the lawyer and see what his grasp of agricultural law is in the chicken keeping? What can people do and not do, Daniel, generally speaking, in their back garden? Or is that according to the tenancy agreement or local laws? How does it work?
Well, as long as you're not producing a lot of noise to the neighbors, I think that you will be all right.
Right.
I had goats in my backyard.
Did you mean?
So, yeah, I was the guy that had goats, and I had to relinquish the goats because, well, they were screaming at 6 o'clock in the morning during the pandemic. So, yeah. But I think that the majority of farm animals, you can keep them as long as they're not too noisy. You can have, you can grow your crops as well. So I would say that you can do whatever you wish as long as you're not harming the neighbors, and unless it's constructions that are not well, if it's not constructing anything in the backyard, if it's just a crop or having pets like chickens, you'll be all right, and you're allowed, and you're not infringing any municipality or other type of laws. If you live in an apartment, then it's a different story, and you do have the condominium to abide to, and it's a whole different level. So if it's an apartment, this doesn't apply. But if it's a detached house, feel free to have your goats, but do be aware that they do scream at 6 o'clock in the morning.
Wow. Do you miss your goats, Daniel?
No.
Let's move
I
on
love
then.
them.
Yes,
but
we do.
yeah, waking up at 6:30 in the morning with a goat screaming because they wanted company. They were not hungry. They just wanted company because they're quite friendly. Yeah, it's a whole different level.
Needy goats, the needy goats
Yes.
of
Yep.
Portugal. Wow, amazing. Okay, well, that's a great answer. Thanks for a great question there, Jackie. We do our best to answer the strangest of questions here on the Dream Team session every Thursday evening at 9 o'clock here in Portugal. Joseph Fisher. Hi, everyone. I have an NHR immigration question. I'm going to put this to you, Carolina. If someone has an immigration appointment for 2023 for April 2024, but then misses or reschedules that appointment to later in 2024, will they still qualify for the NHR based on the transition period? Can we have an update on that, please, Carolina Cunha?
I believe so. So the appointment was April last year, and they wanted to, or this year, and they want to reschedule it.
I'm reading here, Joseph Fisher. If someone has an immigration appointment in 2023 for April 2024, you might have to clarify this for us. Just to clarify my question, says Joseph later on in the chat here. I meant that the VFS immigration appointment was made in 23. There you go. So it qualifies for the transition period, but the actual date of the appointment is late April 2024. Thank you for that clarification. What do you make of that, Carolina?
Yeah, so these are one of the situations that still fits into the transitory regime.
Yep.
And we've been doing that for a few clients, and it has been working smoothly. So as long as the person has every other documentation mandatory for the NHR. That one enough qualifies them, but they then still need to have all the other is what I meant, documents. So if they do, yes,
All
they
right.
have until the end of this year.
Looking good for you, Joseph Fisher. Thank you very much. Back to you, Nunu. Thank you, Carolina. Sorry, I didn't quite follow what you said about age. If a married couple owns a car, would it be better for the older or younger partner to be the person on the insurance? Direct question there.
Okay, so I'm trying to answer to Rebecca on the chat. I'm going to
Oh, right.
read,
Okay.
but I only have two
Oh,
fingers
bless you.
on
God,
my
you
left
could
hand
say
to
it. That might
write.
be
So
easier.
okay, so sorry. So Rebecca, good evening. In Portugal, even being to the owners of the car, only one of you will be the policyholder. Nevertheless, and also the policyholder will be the only driver mentioned on the insurance policy.
Yep.
Nevertheless, the spouse, as well as any other with a valid driver's license, can drive the car.
And will it matter whether it's the older or the younger person? And I suspect that means in terms of the cost related.
I don't have a straight answer to that because it depends on the insurer.
Yep.
And every time that we have a car to quote, we need to try 2, 3, 4 insurers and see what provides a better insurance premium. So we don't know. In some situations, yes, if you are under 6 years old, could be an advantage. Sometimes, actually, on most of the times, it makes no difference.
Okay, there you go, Rebecca. Sounds like a chat and a call to the insurance office would be useful. And thanks for your answer there. No. Peda, I think thank you for your help with Charles in the chat here on Zoom, Peda. Interestingly, they have not included Wales on any VFS list. And as such, I was told to go to Edinburgh, Manchester, or London. Manchester was better by vehicle with no ULEZ charges. That's a good bit of intel for us. LaRonda. Oh, if only you'd known Daniel a little bit sooner, you could have bagged his goats for your place. I miss waking up to farm animals early in the morning. Happy childhood memory, says LaRonda, even of screaming goats, maybe. Thaisa, good evening to you. I have my AIMA appointment in 2 weeks in Faro for Artigo Keynes. Sorry, forgive me. Artigo Keynes. Husband is EU, Irish, and I'm reunifying with him. And I heard I may need to get a NIS number and a numero utente, the SNS. Is that true? Another person said I shouldn't need it, and I'm not working here. Is that required, the NIS and the SNS?
No, those are not mandatory documents, and the SNS number they can only get after they have the permit.
Right.
So that is not even possible to get prior. But the NIS is not mandatory at all. The person does not have to bring that.
All right, very good. Regarding the person changing their VFS appointment, I imagine they should keep the letter showing the first appointment was made in 23. Absolutely. Got to keep the paper trail, right, Carolina?
Yes, keep that PDF with your life.
Right. Lock it up in a fireproof safe. I know I would do that, says Rebecca, but I'm paranoid. I just think you're playing it safe there, Rebecca. It's great advice. Thank you very much for that. Let's go back over to Zoom, shall we? And see what's happening over there. Thanks, Joseph. Thank you, Curated Style, for your question. Hola, boa noite from South Florida. Thanks to Carla at Casa Portuguesa. We officially signed our deed. Great news for our apartment on Tuesday. Yay! Next up, VFS appointment. Well done, Curated Style. Thank you for sharing that with us. Ron Jarvis, boa noite. Ciao, nice to see you. Nuno says, Laura, May says, everything worked well. Coded message there, but sounds good. Everything worked well there from Laura to you. I think there, Nuno. Erica Cox in the US and just received citizenship via Portuguese parents. Congratulations to you, Erica Cox. Once we are close to purchasing a home in Portugal, is it possible to become tax resident via temporarily using family members' address in Portugal? What do you think of that, Carolina?
Yes, as long as those people accept. Well, it needs to be just one person or one company, as long as they accept in writing, yes, they can be their tax representative.
Okay, thanks for that. The Naunu, that's a very interesting question carrying on from Brexit there. I might put that to the panel as our last cultural question in relation to the EU. Jackie's got a question for you, Nunu. Would I need insurance for a mobility or an e-scooter to go on the roads? Thank you. So like a disability scooter, mobility scooter, Nunu, is insurance required for that if you're using the main road?
So if you are using a vehicle on the public road,
Yep.
yes, we need insurance.
Okay, and you can take care of that?
Yes.
The other thing I think that's connected with that is it will be towed behind the car on a trailer. Are special insurances required for trailers as well?
Yes.
Okay, right. Jackie, for that, I think you would do well to tune into the ACP seminar webinar that we're having next Thursday evening at 7:30, and that'll be very authoritative. And I think you'll get some more details on what you need when you come over with your mobility scooter. Thank you for the question. Let's go back to YouTube. Hamad, Haida, I think this might be for you, Daniel. Hi, everyone. Any news about publishing new nationality law on April the 1st, or was it just an April Fool's joke?
No, it's fully fledged, the law. It's operating. The only thing that we haven't tested yet, but we will for a few clients, is the way that CEF will interpret the law in terms of having the time for the nationality be counted for. So if it's going to start from the time of the submission of the golden visa or the manifestação de interesse, or from the time of the booking, we hope that is from the time of the submission, because that will allow a lot of our clients to submit their their nationality processes way ahead of the schedule that we were considering, and recover some of the time that they were waiting for the golden visa. So we are eagerly expecting that this is a game changer, at least to compensate a portion of the waiting time that CEF has created for golden visa applicants. So we will have a few clients being beta testers or guinea pigs, if you want to call them, as we are in the farm animal topic just a few minutes ago. But once we have the details in the future of this, so once the first result comes, we'll share it, because it's indeed something that will allow a lot of clients to request their nationality way sooner than they were anticipating, and I'm happy for it.
Okay, I think Joseph and Hamad are having a chat about that on YouTube as well. It's always great when community members help each other out as well. There is an outstanding issue, Carolina. Thanks, Daniel, for that. There's an outstanding issue on this appointment and the NHR for Joseph Fisher, Carolina. I appreciate the response, but I really need to know if rescheduling the appointment will create a problem with my NHR eligibility. So yeah, changing that appointment, is that going to affect the NHR possibility and the transition period?
Well, we don't know yet, because there has never existed this before. So we are navigating new waters with this matter. So I would say, since there isn't verification code, I think the latest ones, that there isn't one. So I don't think it will be a problem, but I cannot guarantee. So yeah, probably usually just let the appointment go, and when it passed, you just book a new one. That is the safest option. But if you reschedule it, you don't lose the money that you spent on that appointment alone, which is around $40 or something. But you don't know that if they are going to be able to check that you rebooked it or not.
So make the appointment if you can, but if you can't, you're just going to have to face an uncertainty, because these are uncharted waters around that. Okay, thank you very much for addressing that, Carolina. And let's go back over to YouTube then. Yeah, I think the Naunu is helping Hamad out there. Thank you very much for doing so. And you got your message, Jackie. You won't be towing the mobility scooter on a trailer. So never mind with that. We might conclude this evening then. A very interesting question from the Naunu. I hope, and if you've got any more questions and I haven't addressed them or you haven't asked them yet, now is the time to do so. But I just want to turn our attention to this for a moment. I hope Portugal won't ever leave the EU in the way that the UK has done. And I think that comment prompted by talk of Brexit. I've never really asked you this, Daniel. We'll start with you. Is there any I don't know, intention among people in Portugal or wish to leave the EU? Is there an anti-EU feeling at all, as there was in the United Kingdom?
I don't want to speak for the rest of the population, but at least in the circle of my friends, family members, I would say 99.9% of the people will consider the EU as a positive thing. It's not the same as for the euro. So euro, there's somewhat of mixed feelings. People that do understand a little bit more about economy or economics, they do state that euro might not be the greatest thing for Portugal because euro is pegged to the German economy, and we don't have the type of we're not a powerhouse economically like the Germans are. So euro, there's some mixed feelings, but for the EU as a whole and the free trade and free movement of people, everyone cherishes that because a lot of people in my generation went abroad to work in other countries, gain experience, got back to Portugal and got better jobs, or got different education outside of Portugal. So we do see the freedom of movement as something quite positive.
Yeah.
We do see the economic freedom as something quite positive of setting up enterprises and companies elsewhere. So I think that the general vibe of the Portuguese public and Portuguese population is indeed favorable to the EU. Again, the euro may not be the same thing, but EU in general, yes.
Okay, that's very interesting. And I suppose in the way that people in the UK used it as a way of showing their frustration, perhaps people in Portugal voted Chega as a way of showing their frustration here. So they're not taking it out on the EU after all.
But Chega is, they're not opposite to the EU. They are, although they are nationalists, they do not oppose the structure of the EU. They don't want to leave the EU. The only party that is opposed to the EU and NATO is the Communist Party and the Bloc Esquerda. Bloc Esquerda is not opposed to the EU, but they're opposed to NATO. But apart those two political parties, all other parties in Portugal are favorable to the EU and NATO. And even Bloc Esquerda, for instance, you do have mixed feelings about amongst their voters, because some of them, although they may be against NATO, they will not be against the idea of the EU and freedom of people. So it's difficult to find someone that states, oh, we should leave the EU and got back to where we were in the 70s. You don't find a lot of people with that general feeling. And I would say, fortunately.
Bring back the escudo, they might be saying as well. I don't know how many people will remember that.
I still do. I was used to do, especially for big stuff, like buying a house or buying a car. I would think in escudos. And for small stuff like buying bread, I would think in euros. But then with time, things got towards all the euro, and I don't think in escudos anymore.
Wow, fantastic. Thank you for that insight. Thanks for that point then, the Naunu over on YouTube. Sarah, can I come back to you before we close tonight? Because I didn't talk to you about the interesting and important matter of opening a bank account. How's that all going? Have found a reliable source of a reliable bank and a bank you like working with to open up accounts for people?
Yes, so right now we have a new bank with we work is Novo Banco. We have been working lately with Novo Banco, and it's working really well.
Oh,
So yes, and it's a very quick and efficient opening process of the bank account. And we also have a new service that is if some client is like in the UK or another country, we can open the bank account in person through a power of attorney.
Wonderful news. I'm glad I asked you.
Yes. Yes, so instead of one client opening the bank account remotely and has a duration of like 1 month, with the power of attorney, we can do it in like a week, 2 weeks,
That's
more
great.
faster.
Really good news. And I'm sure
Yes,
Gilda's happy about that. I suspect she is.
yes, she is.
Do give her our best regards, if you will, to the Queen of the Visas when you see her in the next few days. Thank you for being here, Sarah. Good to see you. Carolina Muralha, Carolina Cunha, to you, Daniel, to you, Nunu. Thank you, everybody, for being here and answering the questions. And thank you to everybody who asked them. Let's go over to Astrid to see what's coming with the forthcoming attractions. And there's a few of them.
Yes, thanks, Carl. Great show, everyone. Thank you for coming. What we have is starting on Saturday night, which is our social Saturdays with Hank and Connie. So if you want to come along and make some friends and network with other like-minded people, that's the one to come to. It is at 8 p.m. on Saturday night, Lisbon time. You can find that in the events calendar on the Expats Portugal website to RSVP. Then next Tuesday at 6 p.m. Lisbon time is our friend Jason from Holborn Assets giving an update on Golden Visa. So if the Golden Visa is something of interest to you, then that's one not to be missed. You can RSVP for that on the calendar as well. And finally, next Thursday night, so this time 7:30 next Thursday, we have our friends from ACP joining us to talk about driver's license exchanging. So if that's something that's of interest to you or something you need to do and you're curious on how, join us for that one with ACP.
That's wonderful. Thanks, Astrid. And we had a first and very successful session tonight with Philomena on language and culture. And I think the consensus was that we would be doing more of those. So I suspect you would support that as well, because that was a great session, wasn't it?
Yes, great.
Yep. Okay. So we'll be doing more of those with Philomena, hopefully. And great show, says LaRonda. Thanks, everyone. Ditto, says Diana. Thanks from Rebecca as well. Everyone, including the folks who asked questions. And Carolina, thanks for putting your details there. And the ACP webinar should be interesting. It always is with ACP. They offer a remarkable service, so we look forward to being with them. Any last words? I've peaked a bit early there. We've got a couple more minutes. Anything anybody from our dream team wishes to add before we conclude tonight? Let's go over to the ladies at EI for a last word. Sarah or Carolina, would you want to add anything that we haven't covered already this evening?
I think we touched on pretty much all points, a little bit of everything, a
Yep.
little bit of NHR, a little bit of visas, Schengen visas, British, Brexit, politics.
The potpourri of visas.
Yeah, the animals of Daniel. So yes, I think it was a fun evening.
All right. Thank you very much,
I
Carolina.
loved the screaming goats.
The screaming goats. Let's go talk to the man of the screaming goats now. Daniel, do you have any aspirations to go back into agriculture?
Nope, don't get goats.
Okay, so I think however, given your fondness for sailing, there could be a Noah possibility at some point and an ark for you that sails from Portugal at some point.
Well, let's. I don't think that dolphins are good pets to have at land, so I'll just keep the dolphins at sea and no goats.
Sounds fantastic. LaRonda, thank you for your screaming goat impersonation in the chat there. Thanks, Daniel. Nunu, any last words from you this evening?
So drive safe.
Yes. Well said, sir. After all of that talk about collisions and insurance claims, drive safely and save everybody a lot of work. So thank you, everybody, for being here this evening. We'll see you again soon. We'll see you next Thursday at 7:30 and then another Dream Team session at 9 o'clock next Thursday.